Hey everybody, today we're taking another look at the Fiio Q3. This one is a portable DAC amp with a THX chipset inside of it. It is very nice. In the quest for the DAC amplifiers that are portable, this one comes in at a little bit lower power rating than the hip DAC, which I actually love. It's got a warmth to it. It's not the most resolving DAC amp in the universe, but it has a nice warmth, a nice analog sound from that Burr Brown chipset in it. This one has a better battery overall performance. This one is definitely a much more detailed oriented. There is a lift in the bass, but it's nothing major. Overall, the mids are quite decent and have a nice balanced sound to them. And then you get into the highs, and the highs are kind of neutral. They have a good extension. But basically, this one kind of just mirrors that source quite well. It's very detailed and clear. So that's what I like about this one. And I also like the fact that this one, the size of this one, it's a little bit smaller than the others. Let's get a phone out here. Grab a phone from the side there. Can see it fits right on here to the point where it doesn't cover up that fingerprint sensor, so that's good. And it's very thin. And overall, it's got a great look to it. There's no seams or anything, so it looks great as well. Then we get into the outputs in the front, which, by the way, the 3.5 is also an input. Another extremely useful feature to be able to just bypass that DAC and just use it as an amp sometimes, because sometimes you just want the added volume and you don't want anything else. Maybe you have an LG phone, which, sorry that they don't make them anymore, but if you do have an LG phone like the V30 or V60 or ThinQ or something like that with the quad DAC, maybe you just want to listen to that. You can bypass that by that and just get the extra amperage out of this. Overall, I think most people are going to be impressed with the quality of sound that this puts out. The only drawbacks would be there's a single USB-C, so you have to use this switch here if you want to charge it. And then remember to switch it back, otherwise it will drain from the phone's battery. Nice that the little button here for the high gain glows green, and the bass boost is very tasteful. Overall, I love the looks of it. I love these 3 ports in the front. I love the little knob here and the switch and the light and the shape of it and the thinness of this and the efficiency. This one is probably the most efficient of the bunch. We're talking about the X2 the hip DAC, this one, the S1, I think it's called, which I have never used the S1, so I'm not going to really mention it that much because I know that that's a little bit less power than this. It's obviously a lot smaller, but we're discussing this one and the competition because those are in the same price range. The S1 is actually more money. It's actually like $169. This comes in about $150. The hip about $155 and the X2 about $159. So they're basically all in the same price range. And they basically all have their key points. And the key point on this one, the reason why I'm making this video is because after testing this for a long period of time, I just want to show you some things. Nice spongy pouch that it comes with. It really feels like it would protect it a little bit. I mean, obviously, don't drop it on the cement. I like the form factor of this one. It's the smallest of the bunch that I've tested. I like the cleanliness and the sound. The sound is quite clean and detailed and has very low noise, definitely. I wouldn't say, I don't know, I can't really say if it's like 100% black, the background, but very low noise on this. And this one works well. I mean, extremely well, with even sensitive IEMs. So that's a plus on that. That's the point that I want to get across is if you're into like IEMs, this would be the choice to go with. definitely, unless we start getting into the ridiculously hard to drive IAMs that are out there, P1, P2, stuff like that. This one works quite well with sensitive IAMs, lower impedance headphones, very well, and you get a very good, efficient THX chipset inside of here that gives you plenty of battery life for some good listening and some decent quality signature, with this being so nice and clear, and it has a precise, nice details to it. So that's probably the point I want to get across. This one is good for IMs and lower impedance headphones. Obviously, if you have Maze Empyreans or Sennheiser, 850 or something like that, uh, you know, you're going to want to go with like the Diablo or something like that, because that is just a powerhouse. And I'm not saying the X2 isn't a powerhouse, especially for like $159. That thing is good. That also lacks balanced, though, which this has two different balances. You have your 4.4 and your 2.5, as well as your standard, 3.5, which is input output. I mean, even the Diablo has balanced, and that thing has some ridiculous power. And it has an echo mode that does a really good job with some lower impedance and more sensitive IMs. But that also could probably drive the Empyreans, no problem. Actually, that could definitely drive the Empyreans, no problem. This guy's more for the IM crowd. You got some Audio Technica, M40Xs, M50Xs, headphones like in that range, studio headphones, costs. It did a decent job driving my Fostix T50RPs, but it wouldn't be anywhere near the dangerous ear-shattering sound, and obviously it probably wasn't giving them, the amount of power that they needed. In a ridiculous comparison with the Diablo, obviously, I would never do that in 1,000 years. I know I did the post about the David and Goliath post, but that's just all in fun. This is at the other end of the spectrum, where you get a cleanliness and you get enough power to drive the things that you need, and for $150, as opposed to something that cost almost $1,000. I like this one. I know I have that one, and I know I have the others. And my X2 actually stopped working, so I had the Plus. No, I had the original, and we're having the basic will be coming in to test out. So I'll be doing a test on the basic and trying to use my knowledge of that. But I also have the other X2, the Bluetooth one, which is also an amplifier as well, which does a decent job and has some decent power as well. But that being Bluetooth, I don't put it in the category with these guys. But that is also a viable solution. The XP Pro, which is very, very nice. I have the original XP. And, it's a great device. It really is a great device. I mean, just looking at that, I just love this. The red, the three different in a row. I mean, this thing is a bargain at the price, to be quite honest. For IMs, this would be the first thing I would grab in my collection. Never mind the other ones. Never mind the incredible performance and great looks of that bright red beast that's sitting in the corner. IAMs, this is what I would grab, and I would take this with me. No questions asked. I just like the sound of that. So this has just been a follow-up. I've been using it more and more. I've only just recently stopped using it because I got the Diablo now that I'm testing out, and we'll be doing a video on that shortly. And some other things, but, I've managed to... No, it's not my whole collection. I wouldn't say about like 200 something. I would say probably about roughly maybe 115 different IMs have been tested on this, and probably about 10 different headphones. Ones like the Daconia Blues, trying to think what else we've tested it on. We got one in today that I didn't test it on that I probably will do before I'm, didn't make 100% decision on anything, but for IMs, totally. For headphones, possibly. It works good with a lot of different headphones. Um, my AKGs, the volume kind of had to be up in high gain for the AKGs, but those are 55 ohm. And, 55 ohm isn't a lot, but they're notoriously not the easiest things to drive properly. So, and obviously the Fostex, I think are they 50 ohm? And then you have costs. Even the Porta Pros are 60 ohm. But that doesn't matter if if the sensitivity is lower. Like if you have say a 90 sensitivity and you have 50 ohms, that's going to be hard to drive. On the other hand, if you have 50 ohms and you have like 120 then that's going to be much easier to drive. You can probably drive that from a mobile device without, like a ground splitting volume, but it would still work. I have a lot of things over here. I have this tiny thing here that I tried the Fostex on. This little guy here, which is a little Bluetooth one. And, it works. You can always get it to work. Even off your phone, you can get it to work. The question is, are you giving it enough power? And that's where these things come in. Not only do they have the DAC chipset in them, which, cleans up a lot of the sound, but you get the more power. You get a louder volume, and you can set it at less of a volume because it's just pumping out that sound. That's something that isolation also helps. When you have isolation and stuff and you don't have a lot of background noise, then you can listen to something at a lower volume. But overall, this thing performs well. Superbly for IMs. For headphones, it performed better than I was expecting for something this small. The THX, don't expect this wide THX. I know some people might have had the monoprice. I have the SMSL over there that just opens it up, makes it much wider, bigger sounding than what it should be. This THX just does a nice job. It keeps it real, keeps it natural sounding with some openness, but not overly so. And I like that. It has a nice natural sound to it. It has nice clarity to it, and it just has some good details to it. It just enhances the sound of what you're playing. And I like that about that. There's not a lot of warmth to it. There is a little bit of warmth, especially when you kick in that bass boost, but not so much as the almost tube sound that was coming from the hip deck. This is more clear. There's more clarity here, and I like that about that. And don't get me wrong, I love the hip deck. The hip deck is fantastic. You can throw some IMs at it. You can throw your headphones at it. It does everything very good. This one overall does IMs superbly. And that's why I wanted to do the follow-up with it, because I didn't stress that out enough with the other video. I like this. Don't get me wrong. I have the others, and they have their place, and they have power and everything. But if I'm doing IEMs, I'm not going to grab the $1,000 Diablo in the corner. I'm not going to get the other two, which are actually in the other room. I'm going to grab this guy. This guy's for the IEMs, totally. It does a good job. And that's basically what I should have said in 2 seconds. I like the job that this does. It's got clarity, it's got enough power, it's got some really great details, and some of the features, and not to mention this really looks good. I actually love that. It's made well. It's a handsome device. So this has been the Fiio Q3 THX portable DAC amp that I can highly recommend, especially if you're an IEM enthusiast. You're going to actually like this a lot. So thank you for watching. Please stay safe out there, and I'll see you somewhere out on the internet.